Welcome to the Builders of Authority podcast, a show committed to helping you build authority for your brand. In the realm of business and personal branding, authority stands as a cornerstone. Authority isn't built overnight, it's built over time. So join us as we build something remarkable together. And now, here's your host, Adam McChesney.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Builders of Authority podcast. Our title sponsor for the podcast is Go High Level, also known as GHL. GHL is the first ever all-in-one platform that will give you the tools and resources you need to succeed and crush your marketing goals. Personally, I've used this software since 2020. It's been a game changer, not just for myself and our businesses, but for many of the clients that we've worked with over the last couple of years. You can find a link for a free and extended 30-day trial with tons of Builders of Authority bonuses in the show notes. So make sure to take advantage of this amazing software and get some incredible bonuses along the way. Today's episode is with a guest that I've known for about 4 years now. We met in a previous mastermind in the digital marketing agency space that I was previously a part of. He's someone that I highly respect because of his track record and expertise in the digital marketing and agency space, specifically around SEO. His results and expertise speak for themselves. I now have a pretty good detector based on who's real and who's fake inside the agency space and really just the entrepreneurial space online. And I can tell you that Adam Chronister is as real as it gets. So Adam is the CEO of Enleaf. Enleaf has been dedicated to helping emerging businesses strengthen their online presence through cutting-edge website design and innovative digital marketing strategies. So Adam, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey man, it's been a while since we were chatting. I know we were just chatting offline, talking about going to different talks and things like that, kind of slowing it down on both ends. You kind of look up and you're like, wow, I didn't realize I traveled every single month or multiple times a month the entire year. So it's a wild ride out there, man.
Yeah, no, it's bittersweet. Like there's a cycle of conferences that are happening right now that I'm kind of bummed not to be attending, but also like the family loves having me home, right? So
yeah. Man, I'm right there with you. So tell the audience a little bit. I know I gave a brief introduction, but tell us, who Adam Chronister is.
Yeah. So, dad, family man, investor, and agency owner, avid traveler, that checks most of the boxes, right? So, yeah, for well over a decade, essentially starting around 2009, I ventured out into the realm of website design and digital marketing. I initially got my background in computer science, but shortly out of school pivoted really into digital marketing and have been doing that in some realm or fashion ever since, right? With the infancy of our agency, really took that full time around COVID. Prior to that, it was a substantial, I guess, side hustle. But for the last 3 years of juggling, the workforce and a agency, like it was making more money, so eventually just pulled the trigger and went full time and haven't looked back since, right? So.
Love it. So how's the transition been just from like human aspect of somebody that's juggling both things or just working in, for somebody to, hey, now I'm an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's funny because the last like real job I had, I tell this story sometimes. It was one of those jobs like a beer on Friday job, right? Like startup environment. It was in the travel hospitality space, which is a space I love, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's so like, on paper, it checked all the boxes. And I'm still really good friends with the previous founder to this day and many people inside of that company. In fact, many of them have moved on to other companies and are now actually our clients.
That's pretty awesome.
But it was one of those jobs that everybody loved. Everyone was so grateful to work there, and I was too, right? But I just had this feeling like I never really felt like this is it for me, right? And it was a head scratcher because it's like, man, everybody else loves it here. And I understand why, but I don't feel like this is the thing for me, right? Long story short, COVID killed those golden handcuffs. They were in the travel hospitality space around COVID. And unfortunately, the business model they were in was probably the most disrupted model at the time. So the business went under. And that
Mm.
was my opportunity to really make some not even hard decisions, right? Because I was making more money with 20% of my time on the agency than I was in the day job. And
Hmm.
so, conversation with my wife, hey, let's save up a little bit of money as a buffer, and let's try it out. And like I said, I haven't looked back since. It's my only fear in that whole scenario was like, well, what if I get to the other side? I'm like on my own and I'm still not happy. Then
Yeah.
then the problem's me, right? So, knock on wood, that wasn't the case, and I really feel like entrepreneurship is for me. So I think if even if you haven't really
Mm.
pulled the trigger yet, like deep down, you know, if you search yourself, you'll get an idea.
Yeah. Well, I had a very similar, like right around the same timing, right? I went full time, left medical device sales in July 2020. So, like, right in the midst of the pandemic, and had a very similar, like, experience in terms of, like, what you were feeling and what you thought, and probably what other people were actually feeling, right? Like, I was at ResMed, literally one of the best companies to work in the medical device space. I was almost 10 years younger than like the next oldest person in my role. Had just came off a year where I made $200,000 and then bought a house and then decided to get married and then bought a house, right? And then it's just like, okay, I'm going to leave all of this money and security to like go be a digital marketer, right? Like what a great idea. But the rest is history, and I'm better for it, and glad that I did it for sure. But my one of my questions that I wanted to ask you, right? So I look at, obviously, because I've heard you talk, I've been following you for a very long time. Obviously, we've hung out and seen each other at some of the same events. Like, you are what I would refer to as a subject matter expert in the technical side to a lot of stuff. You have a lot of great insights. I know you test out a lot of stuff. I know you have all these different strategies. How have you, from that standpoint, right? How have you kind of transformed into an entrepreneur CEO where I know myself, I love testing out stuff with SEO, and I'm like, man, I just want to go test stuff all day long, but I got to run the company.
Yeah. Yeah, it has been a transition. And, like and I think I've like graduated into it fairly well. Like, to be honest, like I used to really love just geeking out. And I do go through periods where, like, especially now with not like AI, right? I'll have a day or two where I'll just, try to shut the distractions off and learn
Mm.
some stuff and get deep. But that drive to be, writing metadata or doing backlink outreach, like I've done that for, over a decade now. And so it's nice to actually be able to pass the baton to our team members. We have some team members
Mm.
that are, maybe a generation behind me as far as like their introduction to SEO, and seeing the
Sure.
excitement they have because all of this stuff is, while not brand new, it's new enough that they still love learning new like tactics and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I've accepted the kind of role reversal of being more high level, like big picture, right? And that has given me opportunities to do things that I couldn't do if I was still working in the business, right?
Mm.
Podcasts, traveling, networking, all of those things. If you're, there's the whole idea of working on the business instead of in the business. And so, at some point as a business owner, you have to make that transition. And usually
Mm.
usually you're going to start out working in the business, right? But if you want
Yeah.
to grow and scale, you have to make that switch at some point, right?
Mm. Yeah. Well, and I think it's, I always look at it, right? Like now growing my, I guess, second real agency, right? I look at it of I was able to condense a bunch of time, right? From where it took me to basically get to where I'm at right now. It took me 3 years previously. So obviously with growth and lessons and experience, you learn things along the way. But I'm very grateful for the growth that I had the first time around, where I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. And I said, you know what? I'm going to really make sure I knock out like this content roadmap strategy for a new client back then, which gave me the ability to go teach somebody probably how to do it better this time. So kind of my, and I promise I'll get to a question here in a second, but one of the ways where I think people like you and I, where we've been very successful in the agency space, is we were willing to go through that stuff before we just like pass the baton off. Right now, the agency space is inundated with a lot of people that have never done the thing. They don't know how to do the thing. They want to white label and outsource and go and do all those different things. How do you kind of see the agency space overall right now from that aspect?
Um, I mean, you know, I know being an SEO as kind of a focal point, it's by no means all that we do, but it's kind of what we're known for, right? It does get frustrating because, and in some cases, actually, it becomes advantageous for us, right? We inherit a lot of clients, from well-meaning, even well-talented web development and design firms, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you get clients that spend, a small fortune redesigning their website. And maybe it looks great and it does all the core things, but then you see it like really not serve them as far as visibility. And
Mm-hmm.
in some cases where there's legacy traffic, they end up worse, not better, right? And so
Yeah.
um,
Mm.
whenever we're talking to new prospects and they're looking at web design, even if they're not even at the point where they want to do digital marketing, kind of our big sales pitch is like, hey, we're going to build this right the first time. Even if you're not ready for marketing, you're not going to have to redesign this 6 months down the road, right?
Mm.
Um, and so it does get a little bit frustrating seeing some businesses try to work in arenas where they're really not competent. I think what happens is there's a challenge if you're web development or design shop, maybe you don't have a full marketing team. And your client says, hey, can you do SEO or can you do social media? To say, well, yeah, we can, because we don't want to turn away a check, right?
Yeah. Mm.
But we try to stay in our own lane as a company. What I tell people is we're a data-driven search marketing company, and what that means is, if our clients ask, hey Adam, can you guys do a social media marketing campaign? At this stage of the game, we say, you know what, that's not really what we do, but we have some really great partners. Let's get you integrated, right?
Mm.
Um, because we know what we're really good at it, and we know what we're not, right? And that
Yeah.
may change down the road, but right now, like, um, we like doing what we do, and we do it, I think, better than a majority out there, right?
Mm. Well, you answered the question perfectly because I was gonna really ask is like how has the industry as a whole, a lot of the pitfalls help play into your strengths, right? Which obviously you're like, hey, no, we just got really clear on what we do well, how we serve people, and then when we know we can't help somebody, we got somebody else, and then of course you're getting referrals likely back from those other partners as well. But I think it's a big thing as it comes to building authority, which is obviously like the theme of this podcast is you have to be willing in any space, but really in the agency space, to turn away business, say no to the check in order to say yes to some of the more right people and right opportunities moving forward. And it's a lesson a lot of us obviously have to learn the hard way when we're growing and we're trying to feed our team and feed our family and do all that stuff. We're like, hey, I gotta just go do this thing for this client. But on the other side of that, that's where authority is really built, which is kind of where I want to transition a conversation is you've obviously been looked at as an SEO expert, as somebody inside of the digital marketing agency community that knows their stuff, which is powerful because agency owners typically don't look at it that way. But how has the outside client, right, like the prospect, how has the authority been built there to where when people are having conversation with you and your team, they're like, hey, we just tell us how much it's going to be. Like, we're ready to sign, Adam.
Right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that has been built, and I know you're on a similar like trajectory, but for us, a lot of it's been built on personal brand, which took a little while to get used to. Like at first, I try like so many other entrepreneurs and people in tech, it's sometimes hard to get out of your shell and kind of accept the spotlight, right? And I think particularly in the SEO realm, there's a lot of like, I mean, some of the smartest SEO people I know are extremely awkward on stage, right? And some of them
Mm.
won't even get up on the stage. And so I think those people, especially in those more technical arenas where maybe you're more comfortable behind a screen and not talking to people, if you can break out of that shell in a creative way, usually that alone can be a driver towards, visibility and success, right? For
Mm.
me, like we were discussing earlier, that's come in the way of, getting on other people's stages, right? Doing podcast interviews, repurposing that content on social media, really just keeping what we do, front and center, right? And so yeah, I've had the opportunity kind of, build myself as the face of our agency Enleaf, but obviously behind it, there's a ton of talented people. But yeah, it's been fun. Like it's taken, like I said, it's taken a transition to get comfortable with it, and now I'm to the point where I actually enjoy it. But it didn't happen overnight, right?
As much as we would all love to just be like, yeah, no, I did this yesterday, and now all of a sudden all this stuff is here, right? It's a process and a journey, and I think I was talking with somebody the other day about it. Is they were just like, man, if you are, I've been in the agency space, even if you've been in the agency space for like 4 years now, which I am coming up on my 5th year. So many of the agency owners, like when I was first getting started, and even last year, there was a bunch of people all over the internet that were like, hey, I'm doing this deal, or I'm getting these crazy results for my clients. And then like you never hear from them again because they screw people over, they screw their employees over, they whatever. It's like, if you're just a good human being and you get results for your clients and you do what you say you're going to do, and then like over deliver just a little bit, you're in like the top 10% of the agency space overall, and you'll be literally just fine. The barrier is not that high.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just finding a way to differentiate yourself in all the noise, I
Mm.
think, right? And honestly, a lot of that just comes down to being like simply consistent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because, like I said, we don't do social media for our clients, but I certainly do it for my own personal brand. I don't think I'm by any means an expert. I mean, if you look at a lot of like my own social media profile, like I'm sure if an expert came in, they'd probably cringe. But the thing I can say is like I'm consistent with my messaging, right? Maybe the
Yeah.
strategy could use a little bit of a tune-up, but um, at least in my hometown and maybe even beyond, when people think about SEO, they think about me and they think about my company. And so, um,
Yeah.
I what I've like I and I'm working on some new talks focused around kind of more growth hacky type PR type stuff. And it's some of my stories, some of the things I've done to kind of hack the system when it comes to PR. Um, and what I'm trying to challenge people is, to become famous in your own town, right? If people
Yeah.
don't know you in your own town, then you probably don't have you know uh, too much to lean on as far as trying to get familiarity outside of your own town. So start where you live, right? If you can get
Mm-hmm.
notoriety there, then maybe it's time to move beyond that and see where it goes.
Hmm. Well, it's a lot of like what I think we probably both preach to our clients too, right? So like one of the big things for me and how I've grown authority is like, hey, here's this auto glass company that I started that literally was nothing before that. Here's this landscape design business I created. Here's a Christmas light, all the different things, right? But then a lot of people are like, well, it doesn't matter the industry. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to share my secret sauce because I don't want people to take it and go implement it and not pay me. Well, 99% of people aren't going to do anything with anything anyway. So you might as well just give it away because they can go get it anywhere on the internet. But it's about practicing what you preach and doing that same thing. So from an agency perspective, it's like, hey, if people are looking for this stuff and I'm not on the first page of Google in my own market, or if I'm not ranking for certain keywords, right, why would they then go and turn around and spend money with me? But I was also talking to, we just brought on a metal roofing company, and they specialize in metal roofing, and they're in Tampa, Florida. But I'm like, dude, your Google business profile is like 45 minutes away from Tampa, Florida. You're not ranking in this suburb right now. Where your Google business profile physically there? Let's go show Google you're ready to play in your backyard before we go take down one of the biggest cities in all of Florida, right? And so a lot of times people want this big, shiny object, but they're not willing to take what's right in front of them to work up towards the big, shiny object.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's the same thing too. Like we have a particular focus with search marketing, web design, but we consider the whole gamut of marketing, right? Like
Hmm.
when our clients are ready, when we have a good foot in the door as far as what we do, then we introduce them to our partners in other arenas, right? And you got to start somewhere, right? And some businesses, that's search marketing. Others, like maybe that's social media marketing. You have to start somewhere. But hopefully that's not where you end, right? Like,
Yeah. Mm.
especially if you're growing.
Yeah. Love it. Well, Adam, this has been an incredible episode, man. I have two last questions I want to do. Is one, where can people stay connected with you, find you online? We'll put all that stuff in the show notes. And then two, where do you see the marketing AI space, all this stuff going as it relates to technology, AI, the whole gamut?
Yeah. So as far as where people can find me, I'm not hard to find. Obviously, I have a fairly unique name. So if you can spell that, just go to Google. I'm there all over. I'm on various social medias. I would probably say I'm most active on, LinkedIn and Facebook, but I'm also on all the others, X and whatnot, TikTok, you name it. As far as where AI is taking us, like that's a hard question. Um, because I think there's a lot of unknowns, right? Um, I think we're sitting somewhere between utopia and dystopia. I don't know where the scale lies. Right now, I think it's a great augmentation, right? There are times where I wonder like how disruptive it's going to be, not only to digital marketing but to business as a whole. But also,
Mm.
I think that AI is a technology less related to our sector. I honestly think it's going to start changing, um, you know, things like diseases and cancer detection and stuff like that. And so, with technological changes, there's always disruption that happens. This has happened over and over again. It's not the first time. It's probably not the last time.
Mm.
I know for us entrepreneurs, I know that we're typically here to ride the wave and see where it goes. But there are some business owners that maybe are at the end of the career, they're not really looking at learning anything else that I think, they might want to change their mindsets on there just to stay ahead. But yeah, it's interesting. We could spend a whole probably hour talking about where
Yeah.
where it goes. But I think for the one piece of advice I would give everyone is, just pay attention, right? Don't put your head in the sand. You don't have to be an expert, but you don't want to become a Luddite either when it comes to this stuff, right? Just
Yeah.
keep a pulse on what's happening and you'll probably be just fine.
Love it. Yeah, no, that's great advice. Well, Adam, I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this episode. I'm glad we had the opportunity to catch up. Glad to hear you're doing incredibly well, and just awesome seeing some of the growth that you guys have done and following you on social media, man. So thank you so much for coming on and pouring into the audience today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you again to our amazing title sponsor, Go High Level. Without them, we aren't able to produce the quality of content like we do here at Adventure Unknown, or like we have remotely with our guests just like Adam. Be sure to check out a free and extended 30-day trial with tons of Builders of Authority bonuses in the show notes, and as well as leave us a 5-star review. Making a big push for 5-star reviews this year, especially on all of the different podcasting platforms, so it definitely helps move the needle. And remember, authority isn't built overnight, it's built over time.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get notifications as new episodes become available. If you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. We sure do appreciate it. Until next time, friends.